I'm scared because I'm not good at something, and nobody enjoys something they're not good at. But if somebody gave me the skills and the tools, all of a sudden I enjoyed what I did more. We need the skills through repetition. That breeds familiarity. Familiarity breeds competence, and competence breeds confidence. It doesn't just increase their sales capabilities, it changes everything in their life.
Mr. Ryan Tuckwood, back for round 2. Probably the world's biggest introvert. And now you're a #1 sales trainer and coach in Australia.
Ryan secured investments on Shark Tank Australia, significantly boosting business credibility and growth.
He co-developed the Swish sales method, selling with integrity and selling honestly, revolutionizing modern sales practices.
Ryan has also trained over 14,500 clients globally, making a lasting impact on the sales industry.
One of the things you teach is how to actually do a job interview better. How can they actually be better and show up to an interview in the best way to position themselves for the career they want.
People go, I'm just be yourself. No, don't just be yourself, because whatever your self is right now has got you to where you are right now. And if you're not happy with where you are, then you've got to be a better version of you. So if I go for a job interview, we use what we call our negotiation ladder, which is a 10-step process. It starts with prep. Most of the success came from the preparation beforehand.
What comes next?
And then you'd be I treat everything like a sale. Everything, every interaction that I have in life, I treat it as an opportunity to maximize that situation, whether it be personal or professional.
What have you noticed to be the most important part of the sales process?
It's
All right, Mr. Ryan Tuckwood, back for round 2.
Round 2.
So good to see you here again. For those who haven't seen the first episode, they 100% need to go back and listen to this. But to give them a quick sort of context, a long time ago, you were living on a bathroom floor. You had 31 cents to your name, probably the world's biggest introvert. And now you're a #1 sales trainer and coach in Australia. You've run the biggest sales event of the year in Australia. You're the founder of the Swish method, and you've coached tens and tens of thousands of people in sales and communication and create huge success in everything that you're doing. Before we sort of unpack that, I just want listeners to sort of hear what's been the best client success story that stands out for you, for everyone you've trained for the last decade. What's been the best success story of someone who's actually applied the methods that you teach, the Swish method specifically?
That's a huge question to start. Wow. The best client success stories are the ones that you really don't hear about. They're just the individuals that were... the word introvert's thrown around, and I do believe I was a classic introvert. My boy Maverick's exactly the same. Took him to vacation care yesterday, and he's got all the traits that I had as a kid. Terrified staying there for half an hour with him to drop him off because he's got no one that he knows. So I think taking people that have all of those traits that I had, forget the revenue, forget what business growth they have, but just seeing them become a better version of themselves, not the best version of themselves, but a better version. As you asked that question, I was thinking about Lorna, our head of customer experience. Working 2 floors down from us for 5 or 6 years, not even knowing that she exists. And she was working for an IT company. She was there for 11 years and they got acquired. She lost herself a little bit as they got acquired. They went from a team of 40 to 400 overnight, and all of a sudden she didn't feel valued in the organization. Was in a sales type role, but more of a customer support, even though I believe that's sales. And then she joined our 14-day challenge during COVID. We did a free 14-day challenge. She joined that. We did a competition through it. She won it. She then realized we were 2 floors up. She brought donuts up one day to say thank you. And then she engineered a pathway to end up working for us and with us. And she literally joined our academy. She watched a video on how to interview and how to be interviewed, so interview etiquette that I created. She used all the tools that I taught in that video, and got herself a job. And then where are we now? 7 weeks ago, she opened Australia's largest ever sales event. 1,000 people, biggest open source event. And she's there on stage in front of 1,000 people. And 3 years ago, she was downstairs working at a company, not necessarily feeling valued. And so things like that, I can remember Lisa Stevenson, Kirsty Copley, the real introverts that don't want to be in front of people and then standing on stage going, I've 12x'd my business in a year. The revenue aside, it's the person they become on the journey. They're the success stories.
Do you think people stay more introverted just because it's a lack of skills and a lack of things to say? Because that's kind of what it sounds like. You say you've taken people who are introverts and now they're standing on stage doing it. In my eyes, the major thing that's probably changed is just gotten more confident actually how to communicate. Have you found that?
Yeah, 100%. I'm testament to that. It was, I'm scared because I'm not good at something, and nobody enjoys something they're not good at. But if somebody gave me the skills and the tools, which I acquired over time, all of a sudden I enjoyed what I did more because I got punched in the face less. So I'm not a motivational coach, but it's good to have someone in your corner that can maybe see something in you that you don't see in yourself. And I'm big on mentorship now and really holding people's hand and going on a journey instead of just doing a one-off session or a one-off event that doesn't really transform people. So yeah, I think giving them the real life skills to give them the competence, not just the confidence, because that competence-confidence cycle, we need the skills through repetition. That breeds familiarity breeds competence, and competence breeds confidence. And you can see the change, and it doesn't just increase their sales capabilities or their business capabilities, it changes everything in their life. And what price do you put on that?
Yeah. Okay, I want to hear about so you said you teach people, one of the things you teach is how to actually do a job interview better. I want to hear this. How do people screw up? Because this is so real for me, because literally right now I got team today and tomorrow interviewing about 20 people. We're interviewing for 2 roles right now. And so they're gonna be sending me all the best ones, and I'm having another round of interviews. And me as an interviewer, I've made my decision within probably the first 90 seconds.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. So how are people screwing it up in interviews? And then how can they actually, the everyday person, if they see this, how can they put on their best self? How can they actually be better and show up to an interview in the best way to position themselves for the career they want?
So that was really important what you just said there. How do you be your best self? Because people go, I'm just be yourself. No, don't just be yourself, because whatever your self is right now has got you to where you are right now. And if you're not happy with where you are, then you've got to be a better version of you. I treat everything like a sale, like everything, every interaction that I have in life, I treat it as an opportunity to maximize that situation, whether it be personal or professional. So if I go for a job interview, we use what we call our negotiation ladder, which is a 10-step process. It starts with prep. So preparation, depending on the scenario, like you would have prepped for this podcast today in some way, shape or form. If I'm going to an interview, which we used to help people get jobs, we started off as a non-for-profit sales recruitment agency. So we take 17, 18-year-olds off the street, for want of a better phrase, train them over 2 days in what we used to be a 2-day boot camp, now a 3-day boot camp, and then we'd put them in front of business owners they'd have 9 minutes to present themselves in front of a panel, and they'd come in one by one, almost like X Factor. Wow. Terrifying for them looking back. Absolutely, I would have hated it, but I created a business that did it. And we had a 96% success rate. And I think most of the success came from the preparation beforehand. So letting them know who's in the room, letting them know the personality types of people that are in the room. So like the way they did it, there was like 8 or 9 business owners sitting in a panel across a table, and the business owners had one question each for each candidate. So the candidate would come in one by one, the panelists, business owners would sit there, and we'd say, hey, look, you've got somebody from insurance, you've got somebody from real estate, you've got somebody from recruitment, you got different personalities. So we'd teach them how to speak to all different personas quickly so that they got everybody's attention. We'd talk about body language and non-verbals. So all of this is prep, presentation. Whether we like it or not, you're being judged, as you said, instantly. According to Harvard University, within 1.48 seconds, face-to-face. So they barely get to say anything. So we used to give them ties to wear if they wanted to wear a tie, or get them borrow some shoes and stuff like that, because some of them just had no money. So that'd be prep. Then it's your introduction. So what is your opener? You could start with a gratitude or a vulnerability statement. So a gratitude statement might be, really appreciate you sharing a little bit of time with me here today. Not giving me time, because giving me lowers your status, but sharing time basically levels you out. A vulnerability statement is that this opportunity is something that I value, and I really do respect sharing this time with you again. So combination of those two. And then framing the meeting, framing it as especially if it's sales, because I want people to be able to control a conversation. So they frame the interview. So Morgan, before you ask me any questions, can I just say, like, I've been doing XYZ for X amount of years. Obviously, you can ask me any questions you want about that. I'm happy to go into as much details as you need. And then at the end of this, is it okay if I ask you 2 or 3 more questions that I might have if you haven't answered them already? Like, semi-taking control of the meeting instead of just waiting for questions to be thrown at them.
Because I would love that immediately, because I look for attitude. So every single time we put our job descriptions out, depending on what I'm hiring for, I will put secret little things in the description.
I love this, yeah.
And it's fucking crazy that we're hiring right now for a marketing manager, and we had about 45 applicants. Guess how many people sent in their cover letter the one thing I said, put in the cover letter if you've read here. Guess how many out of 45?
10%?
One person.
1 out of 45. Wow.
And it's the same when I hired my assistant. I did a secret little thing, and I had about 8 people do it. And now that's not my only ruler. It's not like I'm like, oh, if you missed it, then not. Because, you know, but it's like a lie detector test. Lie detector test isn't going to tell you they're lying, but it's going to give you indicators to then look deeper into. And I do that. It's like, okay, well, you know, but what was funny is when I got to the end of the shortlisting, all the people I actually shortlisted, I went back and looked, they were all the ones who put that in the cover letter. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So like the people who I actually liked anyway, they have that. I'm like, this is interesting.
So you got a secret question in there somewhere. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So I would just, depending on what it was, because it was an assistant, I want to make sure you have a need for closure, right? So I want to make sure you've read the whole thing. So at the end, not all at the end, about 2/3 of the way, I just said, if you read here, tell me your favorite movie in the cover letter. That was it. For the marketing one, I said, if you've read here, you understand the power of psychology and the power of really completing a job before submitting something. Because marketing people have a tend to just be like, that's good enough. No, I'm like obsessive with my marketing. So I wrote about 2/3 of the way, you'd understand the power of cognitive biases. Tell me your best cognitive bias to use in marketing. Because then it's also, it's like, if you understand marketing, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And shit, even if you don't know, you can still see that and go on ChatGPT and wing it.
Yeah.
One person did. And sure enough, they're the persons, their profile, everything stands out. Because I'm looking for how they do things, not even how they say. It's like, if you're applying for marketing, it's put together in a nice way that I can digest it with my eyes. And I'm like, this person gets it. So I'm like, I already like them. Fucking just hire them.
Yeah. And then imagine that person then comes into the interview. They've looked at your attention to detail, or even they've seen it as like a trick or a hidden sort of message, and they bring that to the surface again in the meeting. And you're like, okay, this girl switched on, right? Little tiny 1%ers can make you stand out in an interview.
Because so if someone did that to me, like took the frame, I would instantly see that's someone who actually cares about the outcome here. They're not controlling, but they're assertive, and especially if I'm hiring someone in sales, I want someone who knows how to sort of control shit.
Like, I even if we go into questioning, so we've gone through previously the discovery framework where we go past, present, future questions, then we do cost of inaction and partnership questions. In a recruitment sense or an interview sense, you can do the same. I can say, Morgan, I did have one question for you. I know you've been running the business for X amount of years. You've done the Dream Out Loud or Dreamfest you've done for, I think, 3 years now. I've seen it grow exponentially. Can I ask, like, what is the future for that event specifically? Because if I was hired, I'd love to know where the company's going and whether I do fit with the mold of what you're looking for. Like, I'm now getting you to look into your future, which puts you into a positive state, because you're not going to describe anything negative. So as an interviewer, you're not going to predict a future worse off than where you are right now. So I'm going to change your emotions as the interviewer so you feel good about this situation, which you then associate with me being interviewed. You don't know why you feel good, you just feel good. And you're like, I like him. I don't know why I like him, but I did like him. So we go backwards, where we are now, and then we take them into the future with our questions as well.
I love it. What comes next? So they've set in the frame. I think that's where we finish, right? Set the frame.
So frame is stage 3 of the negotiation ladder. So you got prep, introduction, framing. Then you've got your discovery, which is that question that I just said. And then you'd be into almost justify and present. So that's part of them asking you questions. The interviewer might be asking, so tell me about these situations. So why do you feel you might be good for the job? You'll get all the crappy questions that all interviewers ask. So just being prepared for some of those real mundane ones. And also, one thing we did teach them was to buy themselves time if they needed to, which is something that I do from stage as well. So if I get lost or if I lose focus, which you can black out a little bit in an interview, just replying with some simple little phrases such as, I guess there's two ways we could look at that. It's just a real subtle transition to buy yourself a little bit.
There's always two ways for everything.
And most of the time, you don't even need to describe the second way. You just go on the first one, just leave it. So there's a couple of ways that we could look at that. Or can you clarify that question a little bit deeper, just so I can give you a really comprehensive response? So I put the onus back on you in a way which gives me time to think instead of giving a reflex reason instead of an actual well thought response. So then we're into what we'd call justify and present, and then into trial closing. So is there anything else that you want to ask me whilst you've got me? Is there anything that's made you feel uncomfortable about my answers? What did you like about my answers? Just basic move along questions. And then we're not really going to go into transaction completion, the full negotiation ladder, but the first 5 or 6 stages work well in an interview.
Man, honestly, as someone who's interviewed shitloads of people, hired and fired lots of people, if you just did that, you're already in the conversation of like, you'd stand out tremendously.
Yeah.
Like if I were a day of 10 or 12 interviews today and one person did that, I'm like, holy shit, the way they're prepared. They're, and it's just crazy. What I've seen is, it's across the board and everything. Like how to actually really stand out is all we need to do is be a little bit less than shit.
It's so true. It's sad but true.
It's crazy, right? Because the average standard for most people and everything is just poor. It's crap. So all we need to do is go, what's everyone else doing? Let's do it a little more. Just that teeny little thing. And with interviews, it's literally a cover letter. And I'd see there's like levels. Like, because probably like half the people I shortlisted, because especially for a marketing role, if you can't put the effort into actually you want to tell me a little bit about yourself or why you want to work here, I don't take care as well. Because I see that as just lazy. You're probably just flicking these copy and paste out. If you do it here, you'll do it everywhere else.
Just on that as well, I think if I come back to the negotiation ladder framework, there's a really important stage, which is negotiate and follow up. Right, making sure that as soon if you haven't done it before, you do it after. But I'd get them to do it before, which is part of prep. Is connecting with that person on LinkedIn, whoever's interviewing you. If you've been sent a calendar invite, I go into that calendar invite. Whoever else is in that calendar invite, that I'm getting them on LinkedIn. I'm sending them a message beforehand saying, really looking forward to speaking to you today at 2:00 Morgan, sharing 30 minutes with you today. Afterwards, I'm thanking you for the time. I'm saying I specifically enjoyed this aspect of what you described about where the business is going in the future. If there are any questions you didn't get to ask me today, please feel free to reach out. Because people don't do that. They come in, they do the interview, underprepared, like you say, give mundane, blasé answers, and then they don't follow up.
Yeah.
You're busy. I remember when we won the Queensland tender a few years ago to train Queensland Government, Queensland Health, Queensland Education. It took 2.5 years to get it. It was a procurement process that we went to. So there is no decision maker that you can get to. But the procurement officer, Leslie, lady in her 60s, she became our best friend. Because in my head, I don't know if this is true. I have no data to back this up. But I imagine at some stage, they told us they had thousands of applicants for this.
Wow.
And at some stage, maybe, just maybe, there's a Zoom meeting that happens between the procurement officers and the decision makers in Queensland Government. Maybe somebody said, hey guys, look, we've got so many applications. Leslie, does anybody stand out that you've spoken to? I don't know. It might happen. And Leslie might go, there's a company on the Gold Coast called Swish, Ryan. They're pretty nice. I mean, he seems real. He messaged me, I was in hospital, and he messaged me seeing how my back was, which I did. And I'm not doing it to do that. I'm just doing that because that's what we do. When we communicate, you maximize every situation. You give yourself a chance. And I don't know, maybe I'll ask Leslie one day and say, hey, did this happen? And we won it. And we were one of the youngest businesses by age and by tenure as well. We were only like 6-7 years old at the time. So I just think you just give yourself a chance, right?
You mentioned before being able to determine the different personalities in the room. Are you referring to DISC personalities or?
DISC specifically, yeah.
Okay, can you go into, I know we talked on the last one about that, but I think you go to sleep at night dreaming of DISC. Can you give these guys a quick sort of breakdown, these 4 different major personality traits and how you can incorporate that into everyday language.
Yeah, I think firstly it's important to recognize there's multiple ways to read personalities, and this is not a be all and end all. This is just the one that I got accredited in, and it's easiest to teach en masse, and in my opinion, the easiest to get a real good indicator of quite early. You can do it in like 15 seconds. So yeah, you got D, which is dominant personality types, quite direct, quite abrupt, fast pace, very results orientated. I's, which are influencers, also fast pace, very people orientated, a little bit shiny object, don't have a great attention to detail.
Which one was
that? Influencers.
That's me, right?
Yeah, that was you. It might be you. Who knows? It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
And anybody who knows you will know where you are. And that's how easy it is, right? And I do this exercise in our events where I get somebody up and I get everyone else to tell me what they are. Once they know them, I'm like, who's this person? Okay, cool. Now you know how to speak to them. Mm-hmm. S personality types, which are our steadies, so they're a bit more slow and reserved. They follow systems and processes extremely well, but they don't really want to change. They're kind of stuck in their ways a little bit. And then you've got your C's, which is conscientious or compliant, which is me. I just masquerade as an I. And we're also slow and reserved, very process orientated, and everything has to make sense before we move forward. So if I'm talking to a D personality type, and the way I spot that is by just asking myself two questions. Are they fast and direct or slow and reserved, or are they task orientated or people orientated? There's the only two questions. So I do the sign of the cross a lot, not in front of them live. And I go, all right, so I've got somebody here that's fast and direct, and all they're talking about is results and outcomes. Like, just that's the only that's what they keep coming back to. I'm like, so what are your dreams? Mate, I don't want to talk about my dreams. Can you get this done by that date?
So they care about what's happening now.
What's happening as results, outcomes as quickly as possible,
That's
to the
D.
detriment of everything else. That's D. The I's, I'll say, so what brought you in here today? Oh, I've had a new kid. We just moved to the Gold Coast. What made you move to the Gold Coast? Oh, it's aesthetically beautiful. We want to live by the ocean. I want to bring up my kids here. They don't talk about task, business. I'm going to die here. Hold on, let me have some water.
It's from last night's bender.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Old habits die hard.
I think go crazy. They don't talk about money. They talk about family. So I've gone, all right, so you're fast and direct. You're disproportionately talking about the family and dreams and goals. And maybe aesthetics as well. So I've gone, okay, so you're an influencer. Then I've got somebody that's a bit more slow and reserved, but they're also people orientated. They'll say, look, I want to do this, but I want to make sure that it's right for my people. I don't want to change too much too soon. And then I've got somebody else that might be slow and reserved, but they just want to know the logistics, the timelines, the materials, the quality. Can you share with me the process of how this is going to happen? Like, the D's don't care about the process. They just care about getting it done. Sure. So I've gone these ones. So I'm that guy. I'm the C. I'm going to ask you why, how, when, what's the timeline? Can you share that with me in an email with bullet points? And you're like, are you kidding me, mate? Can I send you a video? I'm like, I don't want a video. I want some bullet points.
Yeah.
Whereas you like a video. You're probably more visual. So that means if I've read that quite quickly, I can then adapt, adjust, and respond to whoever I've got. And I can say, so Morgan, how exciting is it going to be when you have your new whatever you're building right now? How's that going to be once that's finished? How are you going to be feeling? Like, with a D, I won't be asking them how they're feeling. I'm going to ask them, how are you going to monetize that in the end? What are you going to do with that? What's the result you're looking for?
I'm very both for that.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And I think it depends, because I'm thinking like, so yeah, we're literally building this whole center right now. I'm not going to talk about what it is because I don't know when we announce it.
I nearly did.
But yeah, when I'm in there and I'm talking with the trades, I'm like fucking dialed. I'm like, here's what I need this for this, boom, boom, boom. Like I'm like, I don't give a fuck about this theoretical idea.
Yeah.
Get this done here.
Yeah.
Like, boom. Don't care about anything else. Get it done.
To bring the vision to life.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'll float between this creative ideas, fun sort of dreamer. But then once that's sort of an idea, I'm execute.
Yeah. Well, this is where disc gets quite exciting because there's actually 8, not 4. And you will be a hybrid of 2. So you have a natural, and then you have an adaptive, and you will be a combination of the two. So you'll be either a DI or an ID. I actually think you're an ID.
Yeah, that probably makes sense. I'd start there.
And you don't necessarily change your natural trait over time, that's pretty much built into you over the first 7 years of your life, unless you go through a traumatic event in your life or a near-death experience.
Yeah.
So like I have changed slightly. I've become more D, and whether it's through COVID had a massive impact in people's natural persona. It was almost like a global near-death experience for everybody. That's what like the lady Emma that trained me in DISC, that's what she equated it to. So there's been more shifts there since COVID than ever in their 35-year history.
Well, here's the thing with personality test and stuff, right? Because there's certain conversations, right? So if you speak to Myers-Briggs, they think this is your this is you, and it's who you are forever. But all the work that I'm in, I believe in transformation. I think you're not going to be the exact same forever if you're rapidly growing. Because the first time I did the 16 personalities, I was ENFJ. And then I did it again 2 years later. But you know what I did in 2 years? A shit ton of more development on myself, working through past limiting beliefs, raising my own consciousness, but growing a business, having to lead teams. So you know what I had to dial probably back a bit was more of the feeler type. I had to become more of this assertive, and it's really funny because if you asked me 5 years ago, do you like manifestation stuff? I'd be like, oh, I love this, write your dreams down. Yeah. But now it's like, I believe in get your fucking ass up and work now. It's like, so it's like, and on the Myers-Briggs,
my journey's going the other way.
It's a complete opposite thing, right? That's like I think it's like a sensory and intuitor sort of vibe. So the sensors on the Myers-Briggs are more, they believe in the specific sorts of things, and the intuitive people are more that big picture of that. I've had to rein it back in, but it's because, look at me, we're growing our company, we're doing things, and I'm having to actually sit in this seat of reading data and reading metrics and making very logical decisions.
Yeah.
So then I did the test again, I completely changed. It was completely different. So based off everything I know, I think the reason why people would change through traumatic events is because it's called, what are they called? SEEs, serious emotional events. Serious emotional events. Most of our programming is done up until 7, but after that, it will be molded and changed through serious emotional events. So traumatic events, near deaths, things like that. Yeah. You can get it through, you can even have it through breakups. People can go through a breakup and be like, I'll never do that again. And they make major decisions, change on a whole other level.
I think, so my belief on that is that it won't change your natural persona. That's just the way I'm wired. I'm a C personality type. I'm details, I'm process, I'm systems. If I'm building something, I'm building it to scale. Like I'm always 3 years ahead. I'm not just building it for now. I'm going, okay, how's this decision going to impact us in 3 years' time? However, that can massively hold you back. And I learned the limitations of my personality type. And I think that's really important, is that you go, okay, well, what's my default position? It doesn't need to control me, because if it does, I'll never make decisions. And that was my biggest issue, was I was I was a good decision maker, but I was a slow decision maker. Whereas, so I actually got a decision-making coach a few years ago. I don't know if I told you about this.
There's a coach for decision making.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the best things he did with me was get me to make my decisions normally. Have I not shared this with you?
No.
So this was so good. He says, just carry on as you are, right? I don't want you to change the way you make decisions. I want you to document your decisions. So everything that you think about doing, get a new office, hire a staff member, start a new, whatever it is. Just document what your instinct tells you to do. Don't make that decision, but just write down what your instinct tells you to do. Then go through your normal process. So whether it be talk to a shareholder, talk to a family member, talk to whoever it is. And then if it takes you 3 months, 6 months, I don't care. Then write down what your end decision was. 82% of the time, my decision was the same as my instinct. So I trained myself to believe my instinct. I actually was a good decision. So it didn't stop me thinking stuff, but it shortened my decision-making cycle massively.
So how do you make decisions now? I was actually going to ask you that later. Yeah. Because I'm just curious on how do you make decisions in business, in life? Like you're on a big company, you're doing lots of things, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
You're not always going to have time to make decisions. I know I don't. I have to adapt in the moment sometimes. So what's your process now about actually making big decisions? How do you do that?
I've got some great advisors around me, obviously, with our investors. So I was on the phone to Steve Baxter on Friday. Friday, just discussing future offices, and maybe the remodel of the business and how we go about that, getting bigger speakers in for our different events. Like, that's an investment. That is a decision to make. And I get them to challenge my thinking. And what I mean by that is I get them to question it. So you'll find this, or you know this already, sorry. I bet you get questioned by people that are not even in your industry and trying to tell you how to do things better. And the more you achieve, the more people give you unapproved, unsolicited advice, which is infuriating. So I go to people that have really achieved big things and just brainstorm with them, specifically the sharks or business owners like yourself that have actually done it, and go, mate, like you get it. What have you seen with a decision like this in the past? Not necessarily for you, but have you ever seen somebody do something like this? And all I need is half a nod. Now that's it. I'm still not entirely, but I'm probably about 80% there doing it myself, but I still like a little bit of a nod of approval, and that's my wiring. And then I keep proving to myself that I can do it. I document every decision that I've made. I look at every event that I've put on, every roll of the dice, as I like to call it, and I start to go, well, I've rolled many dice, and most of them land where I want them to land. So
I saw an interview with Barack Obama. And since hearing this changed a lot for me. They asked him, they go, how did you know that the house that you guys raided was going to have Osama bin Laden in it? And he goes, I didn't know it. And they're like, what? Like, here's this guy you've been chasing for 20 years, and you send your best Navy SEALs team in the middle to frickin', I think it was Iraq, I could be wrong, the country where you should not be. Like, the US they would not allowed to be there. And raid these guys' house at 3 a.m. in hope that he might be there. And they go, what do you mean you weren't sure? And he goes, I was 60% sure. And that's his amount to actually act on something. Because he goes, if we were 60% sure on something, we just do it. We don't have time when we're operating.
Benjamin Franklin close.
Is that what do you mean?
He used to, how he made decisions was to draw a line down a piece of paper, pros and cons, whichever one had more. It could be one more, make the decision.
That was it, eh?
That was it. Don't need to be 90% sure.
Yeah, that was fascinating. Like, so here's the president of the free world going and taking down the most wanted man in the world. 60% sure. I think he'll be there. Go for it.
Yeah.
Send our best man in there. Boom. Turns out that they were right. But that's just crazy because and that's sort of how I go. If I'm really got a good gut on it, do it. Like this whole event, this whole space that we're doing, it's even when I go in every day, I'm like, fuck, this is not scary, but I feel stupid sometimes. I'm like,
yeah,
have I fucking really made a bad decision here? But I'm like,
so that's a good indicator for me now. If it doesn't give me butterflies and go, you're mental. If I start to have that conversation with myself, I'm like, this is right.
Yes,
because it's scary.
It has to be scary.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's in your zone of competence. Which, depending on the thing, you should probably operate in your zone of competence most of the time. But I think for the business swings, like it is that calculated risk.
Yeah, it is. I remember.
What's up, Dream Nation? Have you ever wondered how far ahead your life would have already been if you had got access to this type of content at a younger age? Look, this is why I need your help. I'm trying to build the #1 personal development platform out there to teach you guys the tips, tricks, and attitude of what it takes to live your dream life and to bring the type of education that we all wish we had in school. This show only grows by word of mouth and new subscribers, so it would mean the world to me if you could smash that subscribe button right now, leave us a 5-star written review or drop a comment below and share this episode with a friend. I would be forever grateful. All right, now let's get back into this episode.
Yeah, obviously, the Richard Branson experience I had earlier on this year, he said something along these lines, like, because everyone was asking the same thing about risk and how do you make decisions. He goes, I get scared, and if I'm scared, I do it, but I minimize the downside.
Yeah.
And I think I'm sure it was Harry Singer that said this to me back in COVID, my speaking coach. I had my wobble. I didn't know if the business was going to survive, and he just asked me the real simple question: what would happen if you went under? And I was like, I'd have to let this person go. I'd probably have to lose my car, lose the house, like all the worst case scenario if we close this business down, I went under. And then he just simply said, how long would it take you to get back to where you are right now with all the relationships you've got, the knowledge you've got, the reputation that you've got, the curriculum that you've got? And I said, maybe a year to get back to the same level. He's like, all right, so your worst case scenario is you're 1 year behind where you wanted to be right now in life. And that was brilliant for me because now I just go, what is my worst case scenario? So I go and get a new office. I buy a new car. I employ somebody. Also, unemployment. Andrew Banks drilled into me early on as well that it's not a $100,000 salary or an $80,000 salary. It's a 12-week roll of the dice. It's a probationary period.
That's what I've heard as well. Yeah,
it's like $1,500 a week for 12 weeks or whatever it is. Yeah. And that's all you got to think about. Can you get this wrong for 12 weeks?
Because you should be able to know, right? It's either it was a complete failure, fire them, or they've come in and they've made money in the company.
Yeah, and it obviously from a sales perspective, it's quite easy to see the ROI. For other roles, you can't. So he says you've always got to be able to take that hit. Like assume you're going to get it wrong, which is a bit of a pessimistic mindset. But I'm a pessimist. I'm a trained optimist.
You are, right?
I'm so pessimistic for everything. But I live this weird paradox of rolling the dice. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I'm the same. That's why I joke with people. I'm like, I take lots of risks. Like I jump out of airplanes for fun, but I jump out with 2 parachutes. I have a backup.
Yeah. You have a backup. You minimize the downside. The downside.
I'm like, if I jump out with 1, that's fucking dumb.
Right.
Like
Do some people jump out with 1? Is that a thing?
No, I don't think it's legal, but you could probably base jump. Right. And you'd probably still have an I don't think you'd have to have an emergency because if you base jumped, your emergency might automatically go. Right. So you'd probably have to not have it. I don't know if there's skydivers listening. I could be completely wrong here, but base jumpers will jump off a smaller cliff and you jump out and throw your chute either right away or you jump up and pull it instantly. I would never do that because you got 1 chute and if it fucks up, it's wrong. That's a bad time. Or if it opened backwards and you swung into the rocks, bad time. For me, I like jumping out of the airplane. I have 15,000 feet to try to figure it out. Well, I got 12,000 feet before I have to really deploy and figure shit out.
So there's levels to the game then. Like levels. So Elon, Sir Richard Branson, they're base jumping with 1. Like they roll the dice. Yeah. But do you know what it is? And it comes back to skills. I'm really comfortable to lose everything. And I never thought I'd say that. Like I could trust. I know I'll make it again. Yeah. I'm obviously won't go too far into it, but going through a separation right now, going through financial separation or settlement, completely ready to lose everything and start all over again because I'll make money again because I have fundamental skills. And that's not an arrogance. That's a confidence built over 15 years. 330,000 cold calls, being punched in the face more times than I would have wanted, and knowing what I can do. If you don't build those fundamental skills, you are guessing. You're jumping out and going, I don't know if I'm going to survive. Like I know I could start at rock bottom. I'm comfortable to go and live in the smallest little apartment, drive a crappy car, and I'll make my way back there, and it won't take me 15 years. And I think that's really important.
What would you do if you had to rebuild today? You had 12 months to get back to where you were.
I'd start as an independent consultant, if not a salesperson. I could get a job as a frontline salesperson and earn myself a good few $100,000 a year tomorrow. I'd back myself to be the number 1 salesperson in selling whatever, like literally any product. And there's also the counter to that I could have earned a lot more money if I'd have stayed in frontline sales than running my own business over the last few years. I could go and get a...
Would you have... I've thought about the same thing. I'm like, I'd do half a day working with someone else and go, I'm over this.
Well, I feel like you're different, and I mean that with so much respect. I feel like you're a natural entrepreneur. I think it's in you. Like I'm not. I'm a fabricated entrepreneur. I've learned. I'm a really good employee, and I think I actually, not saying you weren't, but I could go and work. I could go and work for somebody tomorrow, and I get my head down, and I just. Yeah, I was always a bit of a yes man, which didn't serve me well when I started out in business, because I would then say yes to my employees. I would act like an employee in my own business where they're looking for me for guidance, which is not a good trait to have. I've got to lead the way. They're looking for that. So I could go and get a job for somebody else. Would I get the same fulfillment? No. I mean, I've got 2 kids now, and I like the freedom that comes with that.
So you'd just go back and get a good paying sales job? Or would you?
I don't think that would be the choice. I think I'm saying I could get a sales job. I could be a sales manager, director.
So let's say if you had to start again without getting a job,
Yeah.
and you had to actually go rebuild some sort of income as a consultant or whatever, how would you go about actually getting your first customers and clients?
I'd cold call. I'd go back to my fundamental skill of cold calling. It's how I've started every venture.
So fascinating.
It's because we filled 700 of 1,000 people in a room cold calling. One of our team members cold calling
So you'd be calling the clients you want and give us your pitch.
I've done it for many years.
Tell me this. What would you do? You call me and I run a Toyota dealer, and you obviously want to come and train my sales.
Yeah, that'd be my ideal client.
Okay, perfect. So who's the person you're trying to get to?
Probably a DP, dealer principal. If I'm doing,
how would you even get to that?
Automotive? It's a bit faux now because I've got all the contacts. But if I didn't have the contacts, you'd be the gatekeeper. You'd pick up the phone.
Yeah.
So let's do it. So if I know your name, which I've done my prep, so bearing in mind I do my prep first. So I'm going to go Toyota dealership, and I'm going to go receptionist dealership Gold Coast. I literally look for that person on LinkedIn. I'll connect with them on LinkedIn. So this is all part of prep.
Yeah.
And then you pick up the phone. Let's say you are Morgan. Morgan.
Hello.
Ryan, Swiss Sales Coaching. How you been?
I'm very, very good.
She Irish. Good to hear. Listen, we did connect a couple of days ago on LinkedIn, but you've probably guessed already, this is a bit of a cold call. So do you want to slam the phone down on me right now, or give me 30 seconds to explain why I'm calling?
Well, I'm terribly busy, Ryan, but I'll give you the 30 seconds.
Well, let's keep this efficient for the both of us. Now, for the last 15 years, I've been really fortunate to work with DPs and businesses just like yours. But at this stage, I have absolutely no idea whether we can help you or not. Now, I know Paul is the DP there. Can you flick me through to him? Let him know it is Ryan, but I've only got 30 seconds once he does jump on. Thank you so much.
Oh, he's very busy. He's running around. I'm not sure if I can get him. Can I take a message?
You certainly can. And that was Morgan again, was it?
Correct.
Okay, Morgan. I'll just reintroduce myself. Grab a pen for me. And then I'm into building the relationship with that person. And then I'll loop back around once more to try to get to Paul. I'll then message Paul on LinkedIn. Paul, I spoke to Morgan this morning on reception. Firstly, she, whatever that voice was amazing. Absolute credit to your company. And then I will go after him directly. I'll probably use Lucia to scrape his details and get Lucia's a prospecting tool. Okay. Yeah. So I'll go Lucia. I'll search Dealer Principals Australia. I'll look for Paul because now I've got leverage in. So I've got leverage through Morgan or the receptionist, whoever it was, and I'll praise her, credit him for the way she ran the front desk, and then I'll go to him, get his phone number for Lucia, call him, and then I'm back into the cold call again.
I love so many elements of that, but mostly the actual, you're going the extra mile that most people wouldn't. Like you're doing the research beforehand, you're doing that extra follow, but that's going to take you're not going to be able to do 100 of them a day. Like you're going to, it depends. Not proper conversations. Do all that research and message, but you're doing the quality. And that would make someone like, if I saw that come across, I'd be like, here's someone who's actually, because I get cold pitched daily. And I see lazy people and I see people who are actually taking the time, looked at some of my products, got onto my email list, rewritten. I get all this stuff and I'm like, and I've hired people from cold pitches because they've gone the distance.
Yeah. But I'd reverse engineer the whole business for me. I go, right, what do I need to earn this year to survive? Right. My business has gone into administration. I'm bankrupt. I've got 2 kids. I've got private school fees to pay. I've got a car. I've got a house. I need to pay all of these. What are my overheads? 150 grand a year, 200 grand a year. It doesn't matter. I go, okay, how many clients do I need to get to generate that amount of revenue? Like we have a strategy at Swish. Our sales team, individually, they have to introduce us, is the phrase we use, introduce us to 5 new businesses every day. What that means is they do 5 cold calls, or they got to get through 5 cold calls a day to a decision maker. So 5 a day, 25 a week, 100 a month, 1,200 a year. That's the metric. Now we know that if they can get through to 1,200 a year that now know we exist in accordance with the buying archetypes and our data, 10% of those 1,200, 120 will give us the time of day. Out of that 120, 10% of them will be buyers. So 5 cold calls a day will lead to 12 sales a day. Our average corporate deal is $62,000. It's the best part of $700,000 per rep a year. That's not playing the numbers game, but knowing your numbers. Like I'm a skills game over a numbers game, but why not both? Yeah. So I'd go, right, what if I want to bring in 150 grand a year, I'm going to sell to Toyota deal's going to be worth 15 grand. I need 10 of them. And I'm going to spend time researching that. If it's worth 15 grand to me, it's worth spending time researching.
Do you study the brain specifically on like a neuroscience level or anything like that when it comes to persuasion influence?
Nah, I'm becoming more fascinated with it. Human behavior in general absolutely fascinates me. And I think now I've remodeled the business, as you know, and I worked out still before Christmas, but before we broke up for Christmas, I've spent an average this last calendar year, 2024, on 22 hours a week, either prepping or delivering content. So now I'm not going to have to do that because I'm not traveling around anymore. That doesn't include the travel. I'm probably going to get about 25 to 30 hours a week back in my office. And that's one thing that I want to, that's like on my goals.
Deep dive?
Yeah, this year, next year.
It's fascinating shit, man. So probably the thing that's, and I've been aware of this for a while, and you'd know this, but when I break it down, you'll hopefully it will blow your mind like it did me when I first learned it. But I've been going really deep into all cognitive biases. And how do we actually sort of use these in marketing and sales? And the biggest one that I've seen that is just mind-blowing is the authority bias. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Milgram experiment?
I think I've heard you explain it, but do it again for me.
So get this. So, well, let me ask you a question before I tell you the experiment. If I did a study on 100 people, okay, where I put 100 people into a room one by one, and they knew that they were electrocuting somebody on the other side of the room, okay? And they went from 0 volts all the way to 250 volts, enough to kill somebody. How many people out of the 100 do you think would go past the voltage to kill somebody in an hour?
I think none.
100% of people.
Wow.
All of them. So that's exactly what happened. So the Milgram experiment. So long story short, what they did is they got all these people and they had 2 people come in. Okay, so me and you come in for the test. They say, essentially, draw straws. I get the short one. Cool. You go in that room. You go in this room. They say to you, okay, you go in that room. Pretty much you just gotta watch now. But they think you're sitting in here. Okay, so you just watch it. I go into the other room, and they say, okay, so Ryan's in the other room. We've set him up to these electrical things, and we're gonna see if he can learn through negative reinforcement. So you're gonna read him all these questions. Every question he gets wrong, you gotta tell him the amount of voltage, and you're just gonna deliver an electric shock. For every question he gets wrong, you have to increase the voltage each time. Any questions? And they're like, no? Great. Begin. And there's only one guy in the room with a lab coat and a clipboard. So I get started. I start reading the questions. What's the answer to this? And you go, and then on the other side is a tape recorder to say all the wrong answers. And so the wrong answer comes. I said, okay, delivering 20 volts. And then the noise goes, oh. And then each voltage gets louder and louder. And he gets up to like 100 volts and the radio thing is screaming. Stop it, get me out of here, stop it, stop this now. And this guy is sitting here now going, oh, shit, like he wants to leave. And the lab coat guy, the only thing he says is, please continue the experiment. You must continue the experiment. And he goes, yeah, but we're going to kill him. And he goes, well, who's going to be liable if we kill him? He goes, I'm running the experiment, I'm liable, please continue. He goes, well, okay, but, and he continued. And they kept going, and this was only for the people who really questioned it. And they went all the way up. Eventually, the radio stops making noises before it even gets to 250 volts. And he just keeps going. He goes, if we're not getting an answer, the answer's a no. Keep going. Boom, boom, boom. And 100% of people, every time they did the test, went past 250 volts, enough to kill somebody when they told them that. And then it was somewhere about in the high 80% that went all the way to the end, the last one on the board. And at the end of it, they sat them down. They said, why did you do that? And they're like, whoa, he made me. He goes, yeah, but who was pushing the button? Well, I was. So, but you did it. No, but he kept telling me. And they're like, but why would you do that? You just killed somebody. And they're like, yeah, but he told me to do it. So, because the guy Stanley Milgram, who ran the experiment, he was Jewish, and he was sitting on the Nazi, what do they call it when they went to court and stuff? And they were saying when they went to court, why did you kill all these Jews? And they said, well, I was following orders. So he wanted to see why do our brains actually to the level, can we actually kill somebody under the guidance of someone who's an authority figure? Turns out, yes.
Yeah.
The authority bias. And so everything I teach and do now with sales and marketing, it's to try and demonstrate that we're the authority. Because we have this super deep unconscious belief inside of our brains. Probably goes back to the primal days. If you're the elder, you're the authority, you're the one who's gone hunting and survived. I trust you. I believe you. I'll listen to you. And it's the same thing if a police officer comes up to you on the street and stops. Hey, stop right there. You'll stop immediately. What's going on? Turn around. You'll follow orders before. They've even done tests. They've done similar tests in streets with people, made them dressed up as police officers, and they go, stop right there. And they go, stop. Can you take this rubbish? I want you to litter. And they threw litter on the ground. They're like, thank you. Walk away. Yeah. It's like the authority.
Yeah. It's we talk about that a lot, about lowering status or increasing status. Like I gave the example earlier on of thanking somebody for their time, or thank you for sharing time. So one part of our early frame is the, hey Morgan, just want to say thank you so much for sharing 30 minutes with me today. I know you're busy as well. Not, I'm sure you're busy, or I know you're busy. I know you're busy as well. Like, so the sharing instead of giving, and as well, just to level you up as well. So initially there's the status leveler, and then through the period of questions that you will ask or the answers that you give, you can then become more of an authority figure. Yeah, 100% works.
What else do you do in a conversation, in both ways? Even one in a conversation, but then also it's like online sales. Because I know sales is not just talking face to face. It's like a whole conversation of like through marketing and everything. So what else do you sort of teach or do you do to demonstrate high levels of authority?
One thing that I never thought I don't really teach it, but I reference it a lot, and I guess I practice it immensely, is personal brand. And I'm a big believer that socials are not for selling, but they are for validating. And especially if we go back to the cold call element, or maybe you work for a company, we know that over 75 to 80% of buyers are researching the person they're selling to them these days online before they actually make that purchase. So I cold call you, you're at Toyota dealership, I get through to Paul. I could be great on the phone, but you're going to validate that or discredit it within 60 seconds of a search from me online. So having that strong personal brand is really important. We use what we call value builders a lot, or value bombs. And there's a couple of ways that you can use them. You can do it as in a reactive nature, or you can do it in a proactive nature. So we teach proactive value building. And the way we do it is through our questioning. So if I'm in a sales interaction, I might say a vulnerability statement. So Morgan, it's interesting. I've been pretty fortunate now. I've been in this industry for 15 years. I've been in this industry. And one thing that I had no idea about is a vulnerability statement. But you just learned that I've been in the industry for 15 years. So I've increased my status by reminding you I've been doing this for a long time, not a novice. If I'm in a room full of really experienced people, I'll play it down even further. So I'll say, look, I'm really fortunate, guys. I've been doing this for nearly 15 years. Wow. Some of you twice as long as me, right? You guys can teach me so much in here today. But one thing I wasn't aware of was, and then I'll just give a little bit of knowledge, a bit of wisdom that they might not know about. So something that's called the Milton experiment. Is that what it's called?
Milton experiment, yeah.
The Milton experiment. Like, has anybody heard of that? And then 90% of people have never heard of it. So you've played it down. Like, you guys will probably know this. Like, and then nobody does. So you've just elevated yourself. There's another really subtle one. I love this. It's so discreet. And you can, I don't know if you're doing this or not, but try it on an audience and just watch the physical change. It's so cool. So when I'm coaching, one of my first commands if I'm coming out on stage or in front of a room might be, guys, raise your hand if you've done professional sales training before. Raise your hand if you've done professional sales training before. And you watch them. You go sales training and they'll put the hand up, and then you go professional, and then the hands go down. So they've just literally pushed you to the professional nature as opposed to the normal. So we did this with thousands of companies. A local one I'll probably reference is Emily Hadrill Hair Extensions.
Well, so then they'd be like, I've done sales training, but he's
I haven't done
something
professional sales training. Oh, so you go, not the professional stuff. Okay, cool. Well, you guys are going to love this today. Then I'm going to take things to another level, and like my body language will mimic the words I'm using. Emily Hadrill Hair Extensions. They're a premium hair extension company. They're not cheap. They don't want to be cheap. So, but they would get questions around the price of the hair extensions. How do we mitigate that? We need to show that we're a premium product. So, Morgan, can I ask before we begin, have you looked at premium hair extensions before? Oh, I've had not premium ones, no. Stop getting the objection over price.
Wow, really?
Do what you can do with anything.
Really?
Have you looked at premium or professional marketing before, neuroscience-based marketing before. Like Ethan Denai does it perfect. It's a neuroscience version of, it's just neuroscience before, or I'm not sure if that's the word he uses, but just neuromarketing. That's it. Yeah, if you looked at neuromarketing before, now just the normal marketing I've looked at, right? Well, you're in the right room. You can teach something today. Same with respect. Could be the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
But and that's how easy it is to change somebody's mindset really quickly.
Do you know the what was the increase of her sales from that? Do you have that data or no?
I probably can't talk about it.
Okay.
We would have it, but I wouldn't have it. I don't know. I wouldn't. Nah.
That's very fascinating because it's like, it's instilling doubt in the other person. They're like, I know I'm talking about. Oh shit, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
And then it's, if I look at that, it's pattern and trap right away.
Jeremy Miner does it very well. So you're still using the lower? Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Like, but all the body language talks to it.
Yeah.
As well, and it's so when you literally create that gap of, so you do you normally just buy the normal leather shoes, or you look at the premium version? I've never really looked at the premium. I mean, they're a bit more expensive. Yeah, makes sense that they are because they're premium. It's one word.
It's very fascinating.
It's the same as along the same lines. Price changes. If you want to increase your price, you want to change your offering. There's 2 acceptable times of the year to do it: end of financial year, end of calendar year.
To increase them.
Yeah, you barely need to explain it to the market because you just go. So, mate, obviously it's the turn of the year, so we've had some price changes, and they go, "Oh yeah, of course." It's end of financial year, like prices will be changing, end of financial year. Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Doesn't make sense, but it's just
it does.
It kind of does.
It doesn't.
Yeah, and it's enough to seed a bit of doubt. So then, like, end of financial year, June and December every year for 9 of our last 10 years, biggest months of the year. Wow. And we will put our prices up every January. So it's real.
Yep.
But we don't have to explain it. And this is really important.
Yeah.
Like, you get a random...
in March, it's like, the fuck you're...
Why are you doing it? Yeah, why are you doing that? You guys are just trying to rinse the market, as opposed to, well, no, it's just, it's the end of the fiscal year. It kind of makes sense.
That is... What have you noticed to be the most important part of the sales process? You're doing a one-on-one.
There's no silver bullet, but if I was put on the spot to choose a stage of our negotiation ladder, it'd be the discovery. Stage 4, like the questions.
Interesting.
Yeah, again, because, I mean, yes, you've got to prep, you've got to get your intro right.
I asked Jeremy the same question. Guess what he said?
Questions.
Right in the beginning, the intro.
The intro.
And I was like, huh. But as he said it, I'm like, actually, that makes sense because, we're judging and you got the opportunity to pattern interrupt straight away.
Yeah.
And so another thing I've learned with neuroscience and, so one of my mentors at the moment was he spent 20 years, he's number one interrogator, number one brainwashing expert in the world. He's a neuroscientist and he spent 20 years doing secret intelligence operations around the world. So he's a gangster.
Andrew, yeah.
Yeah. And so he's been teaching me quite a bit on really understanding the depths of how our brain works on this capacity. And one of the things that's been built in, hardwired into our brain is scripts. Like there's certain things that we don't need to be taught. I haven't tried this, not really want to try it, but it's been said that the fear of snakes is actually an embedded script already. So if you see a little baby near snakes, they usually have some sort of a fear already, where they just know not to play, go and pick it up and play with it. And that comes from millions of years ago, passed down from our ancestors, just, passed down a generational script. And there's so many other scripts that get played out, but there's certain things that are played out genealogically where we just understand it. But then there's other ones where a script can be created if we continually see the same situation over and over and over and over. So if you walk into a sales store, if you walk into, I don't know, not one of the good ones, YD, I was just thinking of just a men's fashion store. You walk in, the person at the desk, they walk up to you and they go say, "Can I help you with anything today?" And instantly you go, no, just looking. And then you take 2 steps and you go, fuck, I actually need a shirt.
Yeah.
And now I need to go back and ask them, actually, can I help? But because it triggered a script in with us. And And if you think about the same thing, so what I try to do now is I just try to preempt the script. I go, what might their script be? When I have this conversation, what is something that's very familiar?
So now there's a counter argument to what the most important part is.
What do you
Because
mean?
it's not your intro.
No, it's literally the first thing.
It's before that. It's the prepping for the first thing, which is why the first stage of our negotiation ladder is
so
prep.
So prep
It's-
would be
it's- It's
the
prep.
intro, but yeah.
Because so we do what we call our sales surgery every morning, where we go through our opportunities for the day.
Yeah.
We have a nice acronym called MAMOA, where we look at who we're going to move along, who we're going to move out, and who we're going to ask for the business today. And then when we get to who we're going to ask for the business, we go, what are the potential friction points, objections, what might we get? And then we go, all right, I've got Morgan. He's 72% through the sales cycle, so he's highly likely to fall off if we don't get him over the line today. So he's going to get asked for the business, or he's going to get a line in the sand message today. How are we going to ask him for the business? And I go, I'm going to ask him over the phone. He's an I personality type, so I'm going to use a phrase such as, mate, how are you feeling about bringing this dream to life? Right? That's how I'm literally practicing and discussing as a team the words I'm going to use to close this deal today. And then we role play it. And that's all prep. And then we get on the phone. So yes, the intro is great then.
Yeah.
But if we didn't think about it beforehand, you might lose control and you get thrown off.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so hard, because there's each component together compounds to make a great interaction. And like we talk about neural pathways a lot and the wiring that we have. And the example you gave is great in the shop. Some people don't even say, can I help you today? They just go, how are you? And you say, I'm just looking. Like, you didn't even answer their question.
Yeah, because it just triggers
just a reflex.
You know, I was reading in a book the other day, and they said if you change just this one line, so instead of saying, so if you're working in retail, this is for you. Instead of saying, can I help with anything, or how are you going today, guys? You ask, have you shopped with us before? Just that one question, because it's going to go, yeah, I have. Oh, beautiful. So you know where everything is. I'm here if you need me.
Yeah.
Or if it's no, you haven't. Well, let me show you around.
Yeah.
It's like, let me now be concierge.
Yeah.
Because if I put myself in that shoes, have you shopped here before? No, I haven't. Oh my God. Well, what brought you in? Now I'm just like, I'm getting greeted. I feel like I'm in a hotel.
Well, it is
Nice.
literally just anything but the norm.
Yes.
Like, I'd go as far as saying, like, I did a bit of retail when I first arrived on the Gold Coast. I was good at it, but I was my first actual sales job straight out from engineering in the UK. And you get to know your customers, and you could see them walking. It was upstairs near Myer on the corner. And I could see people coming that were like regulars, I guess you'd call them. I know what they was going to buy. I'd literally take their size out off the rack of what I know they're going to buy, and I'd put the new range out, and I'd lay it where they had to walk past it. And just before they got there, I'd pick it up and I'd go to take it out the back. I'd like take it away from them. And I'm like, hey, how are you? Sorry, you're just moving this new stock out the back. And literally physically, hold on. When did they come in? Oh, they just came in this morning. Can I have a look at it? Of course you can. Like, the opposite, instead of bringing it to them, I'd physically take it away from them. Yeah. It was so easy. But I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't. Like, I hadn't had any training.
Yeah. So it's just, it's the start of breaking those, that preempting what is going to be their script, what are they already thinking, and doing something completely different has been shown to, it's literally like hacking the brain, because it hacks their attention. Yeah. Because then it gets their focus, because it's new and it's novel. It's like, this is different, and they're hyper-focused. Yeah.
There's I want to say his name's Giorgio. He's an Italian guy, cold calling guy. I'll show you afterwards. I've absolutely love what he's doing at the minute on Instagram. He's blown up. He just films himself. He films himself cold calling, playing Jenga, playing chess. He dresses in fancy dress or whatever. Like, he might dress as a policeman, and he'll cold call you, and he'd go, look, would you call the police on me if I told you this was a cold call? They don't know what he's dressed like, but it's humorous. Yeah. And he'll say, look, would it absolutely ruin your day to speak to an Italian cold call trainer right now? Like, that's his first line. And they're like, what? And he's like, perfect. And if they say yes, he goes, is it because you hate my accent, or you just don't like Italians in general? It's just different to the, hey, can I speak to X, Y, Z? So the principle's the same. And everybody focuses on words and language, whereas if you focus on the principle of what are we trying to achieve, we're trying to disarm them, we're trying to lower their sales defenses, and we're trying to break the mold from what they're used to hearing. And there's many ways to do that.
I love this, man. Look, we have got to wrap it up. Remember last time I had you on, when we got to the end, I was like, we need to do another interview. And I feel like, because there's more I want to talk about. So I think we need to do around 3.
Do a Joe Rogan style.
We'll have you back on next year again.
I'm here every day, this podcast.
But hey, where can everybody find you online? And if they're in Australia or global, come to National Sales Conference next year.
Swish Sales Conference next year.
Sales
It's not national anymore. It's bigger than that.
Oh, okay. So where can they find you? Where are you?
Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Pretty active across all of those. So at Ryan Tuckwood official, website swishsalescoaching.com. We've got our 3-day sales boot camp coming up in February, which is our flagship. We've been running that for 8 years, maybe nine years. And then the Swish Sales Conference will be in October again next year. And we've got some ridiculous people lined up, as you know.
Yeah, boy. Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to change the last question for you so it's different. So if I put you into a rocket ship and sent you to Mars to never talk to anybody again, or until Elon actually colonizes
That's the dream for an introvert. I'm there.
It's a huge dream. So if I put you in a rocket ship, send to Mars, never talk to anybody again, what would be your final 30-second message to the world?
Roll the dice. That's it. It really became my thing at the conference. I'm getting... I think I shared it at the conference. I don't know if you were there. I've only ever had one conversation with Kerwin Ray, who passed away recently. And my conversation with him was about how angry he was on stage. I don't know if you heard me say this.
You told me this one, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, why are you so angry? And he's like, Ryan, I've been doing this for 20 odd years. I'm frustrated because there's people out there that are just not, he didn't say roll the dice, but they're not taking chances. They're not giving something a go, and they're not living their life to their full potential. They're not getting anywhere close to their full potential. And that hit me because I was being nice to a lot of people. I was coaching people, mentoring people, and I was not giving you an elegant nudge when you needed it. Everybody's got a story. We've all been through crap, me included. And I think over the last few years, I've just learned that I've got to roll the dice because I don't want to be on my deathbed wondering what if. So even with my kids right now, they're hearing me say this a lot. Roll the dice, take your chances. Go kick the ball, take your shot, go make that tackle, like even in little day-to-day situations. So, yeah, that will be my final parting shot would be go roll the dice.